Hi guys, Matt again. Just a further update on the parangs. Did sharpen them up, two of them up today. Sharpened up really nicely. The leaf spring parang, I actually have come to the conclusion it's over temper. It's too hard. Sorry, under temper. It's too hard. The reason being is when I was sharpening it, I drove it into a stump that I have and just wiggled the tip a little bit, and the tip snaps off. Not dramatically. I've already reshaped it into a clip point. But that's a good test because A, I didn't particularly like the long tip, so I wasn't that worried about it. B, these are edge quenched, so what will happen is that tip is the thinnest part of the blade, so it's typically the hardest part of the blade as well, because it cools the fastest when you quench it. So what I'm going to do is retemper the blade. Now I'll flick over to the other camera now, and I'll go and attend the washing machine. It's having a fit, so I'll be back in a minute. Just a second. Okay, so as you can see, I've taken the scales off. This greyed area here is the actual quenching scale that was on from the forging of the process. So you know this has been a forged blade. The light here is just on dusk, and so the light's showing a lot of the different sort of patterns of grind on the blade. Now, it isn't actually this bad. Like you can see that, I didn't ask for a mirror finish polish because I was using this as a practical blade, and the grind, there's still some grind marks on the blade. I'm not worried about that. So you can see what I've done is I've clipped the point, dropped the point down, probably round that over a little bit better and make it a bit neater. But while I might even raise the point a little bit by regrinding the tip of the knife. But while I'm doing this retempering, I won't worry so much about that. So what I'm going to do is I've got my barbecue here. I'm going to crank this barbecue up, start it at 150 degrees Celsius, and get it stable. Whack the knife in there, see what sort of temper I get. I'm looking for a medium to dark straw colour. That should come in between 150 and 200 degrees. So rather than race straight to 200 degrees, I'm starting at 150 degrees, going to watch the temper. Once it hits the colour I'm happy with, I will then maintain that temperature, and we'll leave it in there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, so that the total blade has a bit of the brittleness taken out of it. You lose a bit of the hardness factor too, but it certainly makes the knife a bit more durable. So anyway, we'll crank into that, and when I get the colour I'm after, I'll see if I can pick that up on the camera. Catch you guys. Bye. Okay, so unfortunately I've gone past the 300 and I'm sitting up near 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So I definitely want to drop that down. Cooking a roast dinner inside, so let it get too hot too fast. So turn a few burners off. I'm going to let some of the heat out. Oh, there we go. Okay, watch it up. Now let's see. Okay, I'm going to keep an eye on this, and we'll see. Stabilizes around 300 watt. Anyway, first time I've used this barbecue to temper a knife. I usually have a forge set up, but I've lent my gear to a friend of mine. That's still climbing, so we need to turn that off even more. We've got many more burners to turn off, so there might be a little bit of residual heat in the plates coming up. Well, we'll see that. Give it another. Here we go. Starting to cool down a bit. A bit of the heat out again. Obviously, I'm going to put it on the top rack here. I'm not quite sure what. This is a little lower, so it's going to be a bit hotter on the top rack. Here we go. Starting to drop. So I'm going to turn. And I'll turn that on back onto high either end. And watch that. Anyway, see what happens. When it gets as close to 150, I'll whack it in there. Okay, so I'm not getting any colour at all around 300, so this must be a reasonably accurate thermometer. I was concerned that it would be out of whack. So what we're going to do is crank it up to near around 400. So I want
probably be very careful around 400 to between 400 and 430 degrees sort of thing. We're looking for a medium to dark straw at that temperature, so we've got a little ways to go up. It's probably good that we leave the knife in there and raise the temperature up as we get anyway, so it has time to warm with the barbecue, and that way it's already pretty close to the temperature, so I don't miss that zone. There's actually quite a narrow margin, anywhere between 400 and about 440 degrees, so I'm really going to have to watch it. So I'm talking Fahrenheit there, mainly because all the scales that you see are in American scales, so anywhere between 200 and 230 degrees, so we're looking around about 230 degrees for the colour I'm looking for. So anyway, we'll crank her on up. I'm going to crank her up now, and keep a real close eye on it. So don't want to go over temperature, otherwise I'll have to, get it to red hot and then quench it and go through this whole process all over again. So you've got to really watch it. Okay, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be good. All be good. Okay, so I'm approaching 400. Oh, she's going a little dark on me, so I'm going to... Some unusual colours happening there. Don't know why that end's hotter than the other. So I'm going to leave it open a little bit. Now, I just called that on time. There's a little bit of purple on that, but not only on the outside. It's mainly dark straw on this side, but the barbecue is obviously heating reasonably unevenly, which is really unevenly. Sort of strange because that's probably a little thinner, even though it's a wider part, so maybe that's why I heated it up pretty fast. You're getting straw down to here, a light straw here, and this is almost unheat treated. So what I'm going to do is the darker end, where you don't care what temperature it is, I'm going to whack on this burner here, and grab this here, and I'm going to put this in here, put the tang in here. This is, of course, again, something you've got to be really careful. And what I'm going to look for, I'll whack it right in here, is I'm going to look for some colour drawing up the back. So I sort of want to keep the blade out of it a little bit. I want the heat to come in from the tang and down the blade a little bit. So I'll put the camera down because I don't want to get this wrong, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so this is getting a nice lighter straw, and this is going to be the finer work part of the blade near the handle. So as you can see, I'm just trying to heat it out from the back, getting a nice darker straw about this point, lighter straw about this, just getting a bit of colour, and just flipping it over every so often, so that it's evenly heated. So you can see on this side, it's probably a little bit darker straw than it was on the other side, and just got to keep on being ultra careful with it and taking it nice and slow. It's probably hard to pick up on the camera temper and colours, especially when I'm dealing with a light straw colour. But you can see that's sort of got a bit of a golden point at the tang there, where the tang starts. You can do this with a gas torch or oxyacetylene torch, but to be honest, it's pretty hot and fast, so you've got to be very careful. Or how I used to do it was I used to heat up a set of blacksmithing tongs, a large set, the largest I'd had, and I would actually, they'd get, become pretty hot, almost, red hot in a dim light sort of colour, and you just used to work it along the blade, let the heat from the blacksmithing, from the tongs, work its way down from the spine through to the blade, and so you get your temper. So this is why I like working with carbon steel rather than stainless, because you can do this sort of stuff. With stainless steel, the heat treatment process for stainless steel knives is far more complex and requires a lot more precision with the heat. Carbon steel is far more forgiving, and you can play around with this and get it to the way you like. Anyway, I'm just a little bit more on this, and this can then it's about done. I'm happy with it. And hopefully it will take some of the brittleness out of the blade, and we won't get any chips out of it. Now, of course, that depends on also on what type of steel it is. This I was told that this was spring steel. I didn't select it. I've made knives out of old Holden spring 5160 is a very good quality steel. And the older the Holden, the better, because new cars use recycled metals, and old cars the springs were made out of freshly ored metal, which is actually better quality. It's not sort of mixed. You don't have a blend of other steels in there that has been remelted, and that's actually that's why you want to get good quality steel. Old car split leaf springs are great. So this is I'm happy with this. It's got a bit of colour. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. Sort of see a bit of gold and a bit of purple right there. Which, if anything, I'd want this end to be a little bit more forgiving, because this is where all the impacts are taking place. Yeah, hi guys. Just sort of put an edge on this. So just testing it out. The edge on this. It's cutting pretty well, especially at the end there. So still got a little bit more work at that point there, a little bit down there. But newspaper is one of the hardest pieces of paper to cut well. There's a little bit of a spot there that I want to hone up a bit more. In general, it's not bad along the way. It doesn't want to start there, but we'll start further down. And this is hard paper to cut, and I'm not putting a lot of force on it. I want to just put that there. It's not wanting to start. If I start a bit further down. Okay. To give you an idea, it is actually pretty sharp. So I'll wrap it up like that. Just easily cut the whole thing. So, not bad at all. A little bit more work in a couple of spots.